Hey y'all, what's up? I am back today with an updated version of my to-be read list that just gets really long as time goes on, and the only way I could even shorten this video down was if I did the books that I actually thought eventually I'm going to read. And so if you're interested in that, keep on watching. Okay, so like I was saying, I've got my notes here. Let's go. So, first and number one on my TBR is the good old The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I bought this because it said Holly Black's name on the front of it. Plus I mean, just look at this cover. Gorgeous. I'm one of those annoying people that buys things because of the cover. I pick them up because of the cover. I don't buy them because of the cover. But, from what my friend has explained to me, this is kind of like a spin-off series. It is the first in the series. There's a second book coming, I guess, after this one. I think it is being released in January 2019, so I need to hurry up and read this before the second one comes out. And this book is actually about a girl. Her name is Jude, from my understanding, and her two sisters live within, I guess, the High Court in Fairy, and she has to pretty much get a place on the High Court. I'm not sure about reading this exactly how it works, and I think it'd make more sense if I'd read the other series, but I haven't because I'm the worst. And so what she's having to do is earn her place, and she's having to do some things, I guess, in the book that are kind of unconventional to be able to secure her place there, and that her mortality is different. Mortality is different from the description, and there is a beautiful prince that plays a part in this book that sounds like it's going to be a good love-hate relationship. So I cannot wait to start this because Holly Black is awesome. I was introduced to her through Cassandra Clare, of course, and I know by my channel people probably don't know that I'm a huge Cassandra Clare fan because I've never done a review, and I will not because I just can't. So anyways, on to the next one. Alright guys, focus. Here we go. The second book is Deep Blue, and this is by Jennifer Donnelly, and this is also a series. Look at that cover work, guys. Honestly, I'm super behind on this. I think that all three books in this trilogy are out. I bought this a long time ago and just never picked it back up, and I really want to go ahead and get this. Honestly, almost behind me at this point, but I was just excited that somebody was writing about mermaids. I feel like this came out right after everyone was about just done with reading about vampires and werewolves, and so some kind of different creature was great to read about, and so that's why I picked this up, but for some reason I never started reading it. So this book, to get my notes out, the lead character's name is Seraphina, to my understanding, and she has dreams that come to her and messes up her wedding day, things like that, but they're dreams of almost like premonitions of bad things that are to come. And so in the process her mother is poisoned, and so she sets forth in finding the other mermaids from the other 6 seas, or there's 6 seas total, I'm not sure, and they like try to come together throughout the book to, you know, kind of band together as a sisterhood and stop pretty much a war that will end all wars from happening. And so I'm just really excited about reading it because, one, it's mermaids. She's the, I don't know what her title is, but she's from the Mediterranean Sea. I don't know if she's a princess or exactly what, but I know that she's kind of in some type of power, to my understanding. And so I'm really excited about that one. And so I will get on that right after I get on Holly Black. On to the next one, guys. Okay, third we have Half Wild by Sally Green, and I do this also quite frequently. This is the second book in a series, and I have not read the first one. I get really excited, and I love the description on these books, and I buy them and don't do the research into whether or not that there is a book I need to read before I read this one. And so, really, before I read this, I will also need to read Bad Half, which is the first book in this series. And I will give you a quick description of what this book is about. But look at, I'm a cover whore. What can I say, man? What can I say? So, Bad Half is about a boy or a young man named Nathan, and he's the illegitimate child of a very, very, very powerful witch. And so he is being held captive, and to, I guess, gain his powers, he has to track down his father. And I'm not sure if his father knows about him or not, but his father has to give him some type of gifts so that way he will come into his powers. But it'll be difficult for Nathan to be able to do that because he's being held captive. And so he has to, you know, we follow his journey on finding his dad and getting his powers. And this is a trilogy, guys. If y'all know me, you know I love trilogies, and so I'm sure that the plot just thickens from there. And so I think that'll be really interesting. I don't read many books that are from a male perspective, but I do think that this one will be pretty interesting. It's not high up on my TBR, but it's right there in a good middle position, and so eventually I'll get to it. On to the next one. Alright guys, we're back with another book that I have bought, the second in the series, trilogy, whatever, and haven't read the first. This book is Ravencliff, and it is by Carol Goodman, and this is, like I said, the second book in a series, and I bought it because look at that cover. You can't be mad at me. So, in this book, the first book is actually Blythewood, and then Ravencliff is the second book in the series. And so let me give you a description of Blythewood, because clearly I'll have to read it before I read this. Ava is the main character, and she is in a fire. She's actually saved by a male character in the book from this fire, and after she survives that, she is sent to an all-girl boarding school, typically, I guess, is what you would call it, that her mother attended when her mother was her age. And so she goes there, and like her mother is attacked, and I guess in the process, from my understanding, dies. And then while all that is going on, there's been like disappearing kids at this school for a long period of time. So what she does in this book, and what the story follows, is following Ava's journey on finding out kind of the details on what happened to her mom, and then also if there's a connection between that and the disappearing kids at her school. And so honestly, I think anybody that grew up in the world of Harry Potter, I personally didn't read them. Speaking of Harry Potter, check out this cool shirt. I'm sure all of y'all have seen it. It's just from Target. My brother-in-law got it for me, and so I think it's like under $15 or something. I'll try to find it and put a link in the description. But anyways, about Hogwarts, I think that makes me very much attracted to any kind of story where there is a grouping of kids that live in a school together. I just think that's a really interesting dynamic, and so I've always been intrigued and wanting to read about that. So I'll eventually get to this one after I read the first one. On to the next one, guys. Alright, as you can see by this lovely floss, I've actually already started this book. This is Iron King by Julie Kagawa. I'm butchering that. I'm so sorry. I honestly picked up this book because fairies, and more fairies. Love it, love it, love it. And so in this series, which I do have not only the first book, but I have the second book in the series and the third. Just because they're smaller, I wanted to go ahead and get the first three, because what I hate is when you finish a book and can't wait to get to the second one. But you don't get to Barnes & Noble or wherever for the next couple days. So I wanted to go ahead and knock out and get the first 3, so I already had them. And so this book series actually is about a girl. Her dad disappears when she's young. And like I said, I've already started a little bit, so I'll try not to spoil anything and just give you the general description. But she has a male best friend, and they're really tight. And she starts to notice that people or a person is like watching her, or she can feel them. And some crazy things happen, and she ends up finding out that she is actually the daughter of the Fae King. And she is on a journey then at that point, because then her friend ends up coming with her. Is her friend connected? Did he know about this the whole time? Who knows? But of course, there's a lovely prince that somehow gets in the mix of this. And so I bought this just wanting to read literally anything about fairies. So I'm very excited about this. And I can't wait to get to it. Eventually I will. We will see. If only I had all the time in the world. On to the next one. Alright guys, getting close to an end here. Okay, this book is called City of Halves, and it is by Lucy Ingalls. I can't talk. Anyways, the main character, or one of the main characters, I can't tell if there's going to be more than one. Her name is Lily, and she lives in modern day London. She runs into, or is saved possibly, who knows, by a gorgeous tattooed boy / young man named Reagan. And Reagan's job is to guard the 2 halves of London, the old and the new. And what they are doing is, throughout the book, is trying to find missing girls and what is going on in their whole journey. They kind of team up together. Love a good dynamic duo, and so that's why I picked up this book. Plus, it looks a lot like the other book I showed you with the green. I was very much attracted by that. I think this is actually technically not even YA, it's a kid's book. But I know the main character is 16 though, so this is kind of low down on my TBR just because it's not typically a book that I would read. I honestly picked it up because of, like I said, the cover, and it said something about tattooed boys in it, so shameless. On to the next one. Okay. My last 2 books I've actually already started, and for some reason just stopped at some point very early on in the books and have put them on the shelf for some reason, and I desperately need to pick them back up. The first one is A Discovery of Witches, and that is by Deborah Harkness. I've started this, as you can see. I didn't get that far in. Don't you love it? It's a boarding pass. Boarding pass as a book. Place marker, whatever. Love it. This video is awful. I'm so sorry. So, this book follows the main character, and she is a major scholar. The setting is Oxford. I love the whole vibe. You find out pretty early on that she is a descendant of witches, which clearly makes her most likely a witch. And so I loved that. I was actually recommended this book by my sister-in-law and my best friend. They've read this and loved it. I also recently found out, when I was doing a little bit of research, trying to kind of get my excitement back up, that this has been turned into a TV show. And so I was like, okay, gotta finish reading this. I've clearly had it for quite some time now. So, she ends up actually finding this old magical text in the library while she's doing research, and all kinds of creatures and people and whatever's come out of the woodwork, and one of those people is a vampire named Matthew. I know if you're like me, you hear vampire and you're like, la 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 la, don't care, so over it. Like, the whole Twilight era just really messed us all up on vampires, but this is actually really good, especially if you're an intellectual and really like that kind of vibe. I definitely recommend this, even that I don't feel like I have a lot to recommend off of right now, but I think this is a great young adult book, just because of the setting. It's different. Love it. Couldn't recommend it, and I will eventually finish it. It is a trilogy, and so I'm going to start and finish this right after I restart and finish this next series, which will be the last one. Alright, on to that one. You didn't think you'd see this one, did you? Okay, this one is on my TBR just because I've read the first book in this series, which is A Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I know, I'm the worst fan ever. I have not finished the Throne of Glass series or stayed up to date on it because I'm the worst. So right now I'm in the middle of reading Crown of Midnight, and I don't know what happened. I just stopped reading it, and I found out that this is a little bit slower on the plot compared to A Court of Thorns and Roses series, but I've been instructed by my book friends to keep reading because I'm gonna love the character development in this more than a lot of other series that I've read. So this is the one that I'm currently just starting back today, TBR. This has plenty of books in this series. Like I said, I've only read one, and so I really have to get on it. And so this TBR list is so long, as you can tell. I don't prep, I just buy things on a whim, as you can see. A significant amount of books in this TBR were the second book in the series, and I hadn't read the first. And 2 of them are books that I put down and need to finish series because I love series. So I'm going to get started back on that because, of course, the more books I read, the more content I have for you guys. And also it helps me too in my creative process of writing. For some reason, the more I read, the more I want to write. Even though I don't really read anything like what I'm writing, it just for some reason balances each other out and makes me, one makes me want to do the other. And so I'm really going to get on that. And that is it for today, guys. I know this was like the longest video. I did the worst descriptions, but I thrive on my book chats, and I'm trying to shorten them because I know I talk a lot, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to. And so until next time, I will have all my social media down in the description. I'm most active on Instagram and Twitter. I will also have my Goodreads where you can see this TBR list and look and see kind of a better description, so you don't have to rely on my awful descriptions. And so you'll be able to do that down there. Comment down below if you've read any of these and think it's a waste of my time, or you've read some of these and you're like, bump it up on your list, girlfriend. Like, get to reading. So I'd love to hear your opinions. Like this video if you liked it. Don't dislike it if you didn't dislike it. I'm sorry. You probably haven't made it this far if you disliked it though. Anyways, subscribe down below. As you can tell, I am getting or trying to get better about posting videos. And hit the little bell notification if you want to know when I post. And that is it for today, guys. And until next time, don't forget to do what you dig. Bye. Oh, there's no way. I won't be able to get all of them in.